So this is lesson 5 in the booklet Cells and Cell Processes for B1.1. This lesson is all about understanding and sequencing levels of organisation in living organisms. So what do we mean by this? Well, the levels of organisation from the simplest to the most complex are cells, tissues, organs, systems, and the whole organism. So basically, the simplest part of an organisation are cells. They're the smallest part. They make up tissues. Tissues make up organs. Organs make up systems. And systems make up the whole organisms. So in this example, these are images of bone cells taken with a microscope. These bone cells would join together to make bone tissue. So here we can see a cross-section through a piece of bone, and it looks like rings in a tree. And down the middle would be where the blood vessels carry the blood to the tissue. Bone tissue, along with other tissues like connective tissue and blood vessels, make up organs such as this bone. And this is the femur. You can see the knobbly bit at the top is where it connects to the hip, and this would be down to the kneecap. All of these different bones join together to make up the system, and we call this the skeletal system that we can see here. And the skeletal system, along with all the other systems in the body, digestive, respiratory, circulatory system, they make up the whole organism. And we can see our dancing baby is the whole organism here. So if we look in detail at each level of organisation, cells are the basic unit of structure and function in the human body. Though all cells perform the processes that keep humans alive, they also can have specialised functions as well. So nerve cells carry electrical messages that we've already studied. They are called neurons. Blood cells may be responsible for carrying oxygen around the body, or may be responsible for defence in our body or blood clotting. And bone cells help to provide structure and support in our body. The cells join together, as we've said, to make tissues. And a definition of a tissue is a group of specialised cells that work together to perform the same function. There are 4 basic types of tissue, and these are listed on page 26 in your booklet. This is an information page. So the first types of tissue are nerve tissue. These carry impulses back and forth to the brain from the body in the form of electrical messages. We can see a microscopic image here of our nerve cells all joining together to make nerve tissue. There's muscle tissue, and of muscle tissue there are 3 different types of muscle tissue. We have our skeletal muscle tissue, which we can see a diagram of what it looks like. We have our cardiac muscle, which is completely different. This muscle never gets tired. If it does, we're in big trouble. Cardiac muscle makes up our heart. It has strong, quick, continuous, involuntary contraction. Okay, involuntary means that you don't make a choice about it. It happens easier. Finally, there's smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is very weak, slow, involuntary contraction. Epithelial tissue is another word for lining tissue. It basically covers the surfaces of the body, both inside and outside. So the lining of the inside of your mouth, or the lining of the outside of your body like a layer of skin. And here we can see a microscopic image of our epithelial tissue. With the dark blobs being the nuclei, we can see the cell membranes around the outside of them all joined together. Epithelial tissue tends to be quite flexible to allow movement. And finally, we've got connective tissue. Connective tissue does exactly what it suggests. It connects parts of the body for support. So, for example, things like tendons, ligaments, and cartilage. These tissues group together, and a group of 2 or more different types of tissue that work together to perform a specific function are called organs. They make up organs. The task is generally a bit more complex than that of a tissue. So, for example, the heart is made of muscle and connective tissues which function to pump the blood throughout the body. So it's made up of several types of tissue. Systems then are when a group of two or more organs that work together perform a specific function. So each organ system has its own particular function, but the systems will work together and depend on one another. There are 11 different organ systems in the human body. Our circulatory system involves the heart, the digestive system involves the stomach, endocrine involves the hormones, from the glands, excretory, which is sometimes called the urinary system because it deals with the liquid waste in terms of the urine. Our immune system, which is made up of a series of glands as well as our white blood cells, integumentary system, muscular system, nervous system, reproductive system, respiratory and skeletal systems. So here in this example, we can see a diagrammatic organisation of levels of organisation here. We've got our muscle cell joining together to make muscle tissue, cardiac muscle in particular. This muscle tissue, along with connective tissue and nervous tissues, would make up the organ, the heart. The heart then is part of the circulatory system, and the circulatory system is part of the whole organism, the entire woman, the entire organism. Another example here, we've got muscle cells making up muscle tissue. Muscle tissue joins together with other tissue, nervous tissue in the organs, the stomach and glandular tissue we can see in the stomach there. And the stomach is part of our digestive system. And here we have the circulatory system explained again. Our muscle cell, muscle tissue, heart, circulatory, and the whole organism. So it goes from the most simplest to the most complex, in that direction. So your little task in your book on page 25, at the back of your booklet, I'm hoping there should be some little cutout pieces. I'm afraid they're probably in black and white, not colour. You need to cut out the picture of one single muscle cell, and that starts off the cut and paste flow diagram here, then the muscle tissue, then the organ, which is the heart, and then the whole human body organism, the circulatory system. And then I want you to fill in the passage, filling in the missing words to make sure you've got them in the right order. The next task you have is on page 27. You have a black and white diagram of this page, of this image. I need you to take 5 different colours. They don't have to be the same as the colours on this diagram, but it might help you. So we have got blue for respiratory, red for circulatory, pink for digestive, green for nervous, and yellow for the urinary system. I need you to colour code each of the organs in the diagram and also the names of the organs, so you can highlight them if you want to use highlighters. And then for each organ, I need you to map the function of that particular organ, its job, to the ones that are listed at the bottom of the page, and here they are listed as well in green here. So pause the video to allow yourself to have a chance to have a go, and then I will go over the answers with you. So we have our first 2 labels. We've got the liver, detoxifies the blood, that means gets rid of the poison, and also makes bile, that yellowy green alkaline substance, which is used in helping to digest fats and providing ideal pH in the small intestine for digestion with the enzymes. This structure here coming down the neck is the trachea, and that helps to pass gas into and out of the lungs. Our stomach is where protein is digested. So there are enzymes that help to digest the proteins. You may remember from year 8, proteases, and the conditions are quite acid in the stomach. The appendix has no present day function, but it was believed that it was used to help digest fibre. When we ate more nuts and seeds and berries and things like that in the past, the appendix was helpful in helping us digest these particular foods. The brain, very important, controls and coordinates the body's activities. The lungs allow the oxygen to pass into the blood and carbon dioxide to pass out of the blood. And that will actually be our next booklet. B1.2 is all about the lungs and respiration and the respiratory system. The pancreas helps to produce enzymes to digest food and hormones to control your sugar levels. So things like your insulin and your glucagon are the hormones that help control sugar. The small intestine is where soluble food products enter the blood, are absorbed into the blood. So you should remember this from year 8 in the OG book, in the Food Glorious Food booklet. And the large intestines help to absorb the water back into the blood so that the feces are fairly solid when they leave the body. So all of this part is the digestive system. Again, there is a booklet later on where we cover food and digestion. The kidney's role is to filter the blood, removing a substance called urea, which helps then to make up your urine. And this urine is going to trickle down these little tubes here, which we'll talk about in a second. We've got the heart pumps blood around the body in the circulatory system. Your salivary glands, part of your digestive system, they produce saliva. The ureters, as we've said, they help to carry the urine from the kidneys to the bladder, and then the bladder is what stores the urine. Along with the structural organisation of animals, we also have a similar structural organisation, level of organisation in plants. So just like we would have cells, tissues, organs, systems and whole organisms, the same thing applies with plant cells. So if we go back here, we can see this is our typical root hair cell. The root hair cell is joined here to make root tissue with similar kinds of cells. The root tissue makes up the organ, the root, whose function is to anchor the plant in the ground, but also to absorb water and nutrients. This, along with other systems in the plant, okay, so vascular bundles helping to make up the transport system, make up the entire organism, which in this case is a tree. So similar to what you've just done with the animal cut and paste, you have a plant cut and paste, hopefully at the back of your booklet, to cut out a single palisade cell, then to join it to make palisade tissue. This is found in the leaf, which is our organ, and the organ makes up the whole organism and the organ system, okay, in the plant. This diagram should be familiar to you. You studied it back in year 9. It is what we call a cross section through a leaf. So if my hand was a leaf, and if you imagine slicing through my hand through all of the fingers and looking inside, this is what you would see making up the inside of the leaf. And we can see there are various different layers. So I want you to see if you can add the labels first yourself. Pause the video and see if you can add them. But I will also go over the answers with you so that you can make sure these are complete in your book. So we should have on the very top surface a thick waxy cuticle. This helps to prevent water loss in our leaves, and some leaves have thicker, waxier cuticles than others. So for example, holly leaves at Christmas, really dark green, glossy, waxy surface to their leaf. We have this layer down the bottom here where there's lots of spaces. This is what we call our spongy mesophyll. At the very bottom of the leaf, there are little holes punctuating along the bottom surface of the leaf, and we call these the stoma. Those of you studying triple will learn a little bit about these particular structures. The guard cells are either side of these little holes, these stoma, and they help to close the pore, the stoma, and open it to allow gases to pass in and out. We can see the main two gases, carbon dioxide passing in during the day and oxygen passing out during the day. There would also be water vapour passing out through these pores if they were open during the day. Our palisade cells, we can see, are all hanging down long and packed in here. And they have lots and lots of chloroplasts. Their main job is photosynthesis. That's why they're in this top layer where they can get most sunlight. and each cell is going to be receiving an equal amount of sunlight. If these cells were packed on top of one another, this direction, then the poor cells at the bottom wouldn't get as much sunlight as the ones at the top. The upper epidermis is a transparent layer, and you can see there are no chloroplasts in here. That's to allow maximum light to pass through the top surface of the leaf to reach these main photosynthetic cells, these palisade cells. Our lower epidermis is again transparent and is on the bottom surface of the leaf. Over on the side here we have what we call the vascular bundle, and the vascular bundle contains two particular types of leaf tissue. One is called the xylem. Xylem helps to carry water around the plant, and the other one is called the phloem, and phloem helps to carry the sugars to where they're needed at the growing points in the plant. So your task on the next page, page 29, you have the names of the tissues at the side on the left of this and the functions. You've got to match up the tissues by drawing a line between the tissue and the function. And again, if you pause the video, have a go first, and then I will go over the answers with you. So if we do them in order, the prevents water loss is the waxy cuticle. The pore in the lower surface of the leaf that allows gases, including water vapour, to enter and leave the leaf is called the stoma. Arranged vertically and contain many chloroplasts near the top surface of the leaf to trap maximum light is the palisade cells. A transparent upper layer that allows light to pass through into the leaf is the upper epidermis. Tube-like cells joined together that carry water around the plant are called the xylem, spelt with an X-Y-L-E-N. Two banana-shaped cells that can alter their shape to open or close the stoma are the guard cells. Tube-like cells that carry sugars around the plant are called the phloem. Lower layer of cells is the lower epidermis. Contain both xylem and phloem tubes together in a pipe network for the transport system is the vascular bundle. And the last one, spelling mistake here, it should say have, not have. Have many air spaces between the cells to allow gases to diffuse into and out of the cells. That's our spongy mesophyll layer. The last things I would like you to attempt then in the booklet are on page 30. There's a little homework, gwaith cartref, okay? Label up the cells, looking at different tissues, organs and systems. So answer those questions. And then on the next page, page 31, a little comprehension exercise to read the text and answer the questions based on the reading passage, seeing if you can find the information. So feel free to highlight away so that you can identify where the answer